Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on my channel. So as you can see, currently with the Master Grade 1/100 scale Gundam Astray Blue Frame D, you can see that the torso unit and the head unit are completed. So yeah, you can see some of my custom paint job. So all these like little hand brushed details onto the frames and all, like the gray at these areas, these gray areas, and then the color separation at the neck, the back sections, and like especially the head area, the head unit where you can see the handle of the blades are all painted. So I thought today would be a good video to cover through what are my thought processes when I do such paint jobs, okay? And this may serve as a tutorial to some of you who wish to get into some beginner basics painting, okay? So here we have the two shoulder pads ready, and let's move on to see how we go about painting a kit. Alright, so before we even begin any planning, because the way of painting that I'm doing is to bring out some details on the kit because it's all one tone. So my goal of the paint will be wanting to make certain details on the armor to stand out more. So the first step I'll actually do is planning of the details. So for example, as you can see here, all these sections are all painted, which gives it a very nice depth layering to the armor layers. Okay, so first step would always be planning. So let's take a look at the manual together. So as you can see, these are the shoulder sections that I have here, and this is how it looks. Okay, so it's important to aim to paint only what is exposed when you put the kit on. So like certain details such as, like for example, if you look at this pack, it will actually be covered up. Okay, so if you look at the manual here, that pack is actually to hold one of the weapons of the Gundam. So we don't really want to paint this pack, even though it looks like it has some cool details on it, because if we paint it and we attach the weapon back on, it may actually be disruptive to it. So we'll take a look at it. So certain sections that we can definitely paint would be these ridges here. So as you can see, the ridges here, and then maybe the end section here, this V part, we can definitely paint something there, and then like such knobs. Okay, so first way is to visualize what is covered and what is not covered, and we have done it through this method. So looking through the manual and to see how it's attached. Another way to visualize would be to temporarily hold it against your completed Gundam or whatever sections that you have built already. Okay, so temporarily hold it there and try to visualize what color do you think will match. So for example, like let's say here you see I had some light gray and medium blue at here. So maybe this section I may want the same tone of light gray and medium blue. And maybe the knobs area here, I may want to put some bronze there, because bronze is quite nice as well. And then maybe let's say like this section, I want it to be a brighter color, I don't want it to be so dull. So maybe that section I may paint a light gray on as well. Yep, so overall you need to look at it in these ways. Okay, so that is part of the planning progress, and let's move on to the next part. Okay, so now with our planning done, some prerequisites before we start painting would be, it's good to have a napkin or paper towel to dry your brushes, and then some water here for you to clean the brush along the way, and then of course you have your different colors. Okay, so like I planned just now, I will be using bronze for some areas, and then this is my sky gray and my medium blue. So personally, I'm not very sure of the thinning of the acrylics. So these are all acrylic paints. So I'm not very sure of the thinning ratio. So usually I get a fresh full bottle and then I will add around another 5 ml. I'll use a measuring syringe. So I'll add another, like, let's say 5 ml of acrylic thinner into it and then give it a good shake, and it's usually a very good consistent to work with already. And next we have our, of course, our brush. It's just a normal Tamiya modeling brush that is smaller tip. It's not a super fine tip, but I guess it's good enough for our case. And then it's also good to have some toothpicks ready. So I'll show you what we can do with the toothpick. It's actually a very powerful tool, especially when you're doing the smaller areas. Okay, so yep, now that we have all our requisites ready, let's move on to the painting. Alright, so before painting, some people would actually dismantle everything and give it a good wash with soapy water, but I don't think that's necessary for me. I think it's completely fine if you just paint onto it. Some people may even prime it first, but since I'm not painting it on areas that are prone to wear and tear, I would just use a toothbrush and make sure that I wipe off any like dust particles or sanding particles that are left over on the pieces to make sure that it's clean. Okay, so yep, always don't be afraid to, you know, have your kit at the side so you can always have a quick reference on what you want to paint. Okay, so like my planning process just now, I wanted to paint this section like the sky gray, same to match this area. So here is my sky gray, so give it a good shake. I've already thinned it out like I explained in the earlier part of the video. So give it a good shake. Okay, after giving it a good shake, let's open it. Here, okay, so usually when I dip the paint, I would like to dip it from the cap here and not there, so that I don't stain too much of the brushes. So when I paint, I only use the tip of the brush. Okay, so get a good amount of paint on, and then now we just aim at it and we give it a fine stroke. Okay, so just a fine stroke, and then take more paint. You can give it like take a little bit more on the tip so that it's like a bulb like that, you know, and then you just drip the bulb on and you spread it. Okay, so here I drip it on and I spread it. Okay, so it's okay to make slight mistakes because they will be covered up. Okay, so yep, take more paint and then just spread it. Oh, so you can see sometimes there may be a brush or hair sticking out. It's a little bit annoying, but we can work our way around it. Okay, so just take it, dab the paint, and then spread it down. Okay, so like I said, there may be some blemishes here and there, but those can be covered up. So if you're thinking the paint is like not sufficiently covering the surface, it's okay, because this is just the first layer. We will eventually apply 2 or 3 more layers to it to make it look smoother. Okay, so yep, so you see this part, you can clearly see that it's pretty dirty with the sanding dust there. So let's give it a quick clean. Okay, sometimes you can use a toothpick to poke onto the narrower sections. Yeah, so get all those gunk out. And then when the gunks are out, you clean it. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with it already. So now let's continue our painting. So sometimes it's good to, you know, clean off the old paint on your napkin so that you have a better application of the paint back on your brush. Okay, so same thing. I'm trying to get used to holding it at this length from my face. Usually I hold it a lot closer so it's easier for me to see. Okay, so yep, steady hands, touch and go. Okay, So yep, like I said, first layer, it may look a bit gunky here and there, but it's fine because we'll be applying more layers after. Okay, so let's set that aside and let it dry first. And then the water here is for you to clean your brush when you want to change color. Okay, so yep, give it a good clean. And then make sure you dry that bit dry completely before moving on to the next color. And always remember to cap back your paint. Okay, so yep, so now you will be changing out the colors. Okay, so yep. Okay, we will be changing the color once it's dry. So give me a moment, be right back. Alright, and now on to the next tip and trick that I have. So we will next be using bronze. Okay, so yep, give it it's a dark copper actually. So let's give it a good shake. Shake, and then give it a good shake, and we will be good to go. Okay, so now that we have our dark copper ready, so remember how I said the toothpick is quite an important tool. So for this small section here, we will be actually using the toothpick. So just use the tip of your toothpick, get a good deep and amount of the paint you are using, and then just lightly dab, and the paint will go on. See? Goes on very well. Okay, so change to the other side. Oops, I almost spilled the paint there. Okay, be careful. And then just give it a dip, touch, and spread. Yep, then the paint is on. And from there, we can do the cleanup later. So let's just continue on the other side as well. So remember to always clean off if you feel the layer is getting too thick to work with. I should have cleaned it before I worked on the second section because it's a little bit smudgy. So yeah, give it a dip, and then on to the next one. So yeah, clean it first. Okay, and then get more paint and give it another dip. Of course, you can do this with a brush as well. There's no right or wrong. As long as you are comfortable with the method that you are using, it's perfectly fine. Okay, so yep, done with that. Remember to always close your paint. And now let's move on to the next section. Alright, and now on to the next part. So as you can see here, the grey first layer that I applied is now dried up already, pretty dried up. So as you can see, there's a little bit of smudge at this area. So what I like to do is I'll take a toothpick and then I'll just lightly scrape at it. Okay, so very gently just scrape at it a little bit, and yep, the smudge mark is more or less gone. Okay, so this is a handy tip and trick that you can use when you are cleaning up your painting. So like I said previously, when you have some little smudges or mistakes, don't be worried about it because it can be easily cleaned off like this. Okay, so yep, same goes for this one as well. Okay, so yep, see here there's a little smudging here. So yep, just take a toothpick and then you don't even need to use strength. So you just have contact with the surface and then you just lightly go at it and it will come off very cleanly. Okay, so like I said, these are probably not official methods. Proper methods will probably tell you to use the thinner to, you know, remove the paint, but for me, I think this is good enough. So yep, gently clean it off, and like this you are good to go on and apply the second layer. Okay, alright, and now let's move on to another tip that I have. So another tip that I have, next tip that I will be sharing would be for painting of such edges. Okay, so like I mentioned, this triangle edge here It's actually there's a way that I like to apply to paint this type of section. So give me a moment. I will clean the piece a little bit more. I realized that there's some leftover marks, nubs, and dust. Or maybe I'll use this one. This one is good to go already. Okay, so alright, wait, give me a moment. I'll give it a trim. Be right back. Okay, give it a trim. Make sure it's better. Not so much dust. Yep, alright, we are good to paint it. Okay, sorry for the hiccup. But yes, so for this triangle section here, I would be using gunmetal. So yep, give it a good shake. Okay, make sure that it is evenly thinned. Okay, give it a good shake. And then, yep. So I got my brush here ready to go as well. Okay, so when painting such edges, one trick that I like to use is I'll paint the sides first. And then after I'm done with the sides, then I will apply the sides on here as well before covering as much as I can with the first layer of paint. Okay, so here's a demonstration of how I do it. Okay, so sides first. So same technique, just let the brush do the work. Okay, sides, and then here, this side. Alright, and then the other side here. Okay, so just always remember to take enough paint, not too much, but just enough for you to glide. Okay, so here, and then this edge as well. Alright, okay. So when the edges are done, then I'll move to the flat surface. So same thing, just run it along the edge. Okay, see how I'm running my brush along the upper edge first. So yep, run it. And now that majority of the edges are covered, then I apply it on the middle section. And you see, this way you will have a good coverage of the entire section. Can you see? It's pretty well covered. So this is a very handy trick that I use when I'm hand painting such pieces. And this trick even works if you are doing spray painting as well. The same theory applies. You cover the edges first before you go to the main portions. Okay, so yep, always remember to cover your paint when you're done. And yep, I will continue to paint these two pieces off camera, and when I'm done, you will be able to see it. So yep, hope this video helped you guys on such tips and tricks. And it's usually only after the painting then I would do the panel lining and all. So yes, do let me know if you all want a tutorial on panel lining as well. I would be glad to do one. Okay, so bye bye. Hope this video helped you.